John Wolkonowicz is a senior auto analyst at IHS Global Insight. He's live in Lexington, Massachusetts, and our auto reporter, Greg Miles, joining us as well. Again, GM results due out any moment, but John and Greg, we got the results from Ford, and boy, it was a home run for Ford. So, John, first question, do those exceptional Ford results bode well for the entire industry? Perhaps we'll see a similar theme from GM here in a few minutes.
Oh, it'd be nice if we did hear a similar thing from GM. I think Ford has a couple of advantages going for it right now, though, that GM doesn't have. I think the most significant of which is the fact that they didn't take any government money. For a lot of Americans, that's very important. They would like to support that. So that's a plus that Ford has over GM. A second plus is the quality rating that they're getting from third-party analysts like Consumer Reports. Many consumers look to Consumer Reports first for an understanding of what they ought to do when buying a new vehicle, and Consumers is now saying that Ford's quality is up there with the best, and you can't buy that kind of publicity.
And how critical is it that Ford actually saw its market share rise for the first time since 1995 for the year to 15%?
Oh, I think that's very significant. That's indicative of Ford's position in the industry today. For the first time in decades, it's again cool to buy a Ford.
And I can interrupt here because General Motors, we now have the numbers. December U.S. total vehicle sales were down 6.1%. And I want to point out that that is on an unadjusted basis. So my colleague Greg Miles, is that better or worse than expected?
That's right. Well, there's really that's on an unadjusted basis, correct me. So that would mean likely that that number is would be better than it actually looks because we had 2 more selling days, we know, during the month of December of 2009 versus a year earlier. So we have to wait until that final adjusted figure comes out. Let's talk about John Wolkonowicz again. John, what are you looking for specifically in the GM numbers to tell you whether this company is gaining traction and turning around in the marketplace with consumers?
I think the important thing to look at really is the sales of their newer products like the Malibu, the Enclave, the LaCrosse. That's going to tell the story. I mean, if one of their older products is not selling, we already knew that. The older products are not going to suddenly start selling. It's the new products, the products that were full Bob Lutz products that need to sell now.
It's funny, General Motors coming out and saying that they expect industry sales in 2010 to be between 11 million units and 12 million units, roughly, I'd say. Yours, I think, is your company is about 11.5. That seems to be rather conservative, though, what GM's looking at.
I think they have to be conservative at this point because to be optimistic is to look rather foolish. I think you're going to see optimistic forecasts from all of the auto companies. So I'm glad to see them doing that.
Okay, so John, even though we're seeing improvement here, it's still not at the levels we saw thanks to cash for clunkers and, of course, at the industry peak. So what's going to fill in this gap? What do the U.S. automakers need to do here to continue this momentum and keep the growth going?
Well, they need to keep the American public excited about their products, but what really needs to happen is the job situation needs to turn around and show some steady growth. We're just not there yet, which is why we and the auto industry are predicting a rather tepid sales rate for 2010.
John, by the way, GM we're coming out with the adjusted figure that their car sales or their auto sales were down about 9.2%, which is less than the 10.6% decline expected. But at the same time, as we know, Chrysler also fell, but less than expected. Tell us about Chrysler. Is there any way that they can turn around faster in 2010?
They don't have anything much happening product-wise in calendar year 2010. They're going to be introducing a bunch of freshened products toward the end of the year. But, you know, studies I've done on freshenings indicate that they tend to have not a very large impact on sales. I mean, the current Ford Fusion is the exception to that rule. That was kind of an exceptional freshening. But Chrysler's problem right now is lack of product, and it is honestly not going to change that significantly during calendar year 2010.
And I just want to end our chat here with one more headline from General Motors saying the economic leading indicators do point toward recovery in 2010. So hopefully that will continue to happen. Many thanks to John Wolkonowicz, senior auto analyst at IHS Global Insight, and of course, star auto reporter.
take
That wasn't a teleprompter,
Happy New
Greg.
Year.
Thanks again.